Do you want a financially secure future, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones as well? This is Generations of Wealth, the podcast that breaks down the most effective wealth building strategies you can easily apply to your own life. Join investor and international best-selling author Derek Dombeck in exploring practical tips and sound advice on building a profitable business, creating a powerful brand, or getting into the thriving world of real estate investing. This is your chance to create your very own financial roadmap to live your vision, love your life. Let's begin this discussion with your host, Derek Dombeck.
Welcome to the Generations of Wealth show. I'm your host, Derek Dombeck, and today we've got a very, very good friend of mine. Her name is Kandas Broome. She actually was an integral part of helping me extract my vision, and also worked with my wife, Tracy, and a lot of friends of ours. She also has been a speaker on the Generations of Wealth Voyage. And man, I really am looking forward to this, only because I know how much fun we have and how much we honestly pick on each other. So it's a great show. She is an integrator for her boss, which is her visionary. And it's a very, very interesting thing that most business owners, entrepreneurs don't necessarily consider, right? We can all be shiny object syndrome all the time and coming up with the latest, greatest idea, but we need people to actually implement those ideas. And the other part that she, as I already kind of alluded to, is so strong in is helping people with their vision and figuring out their visions. So before I bring Kandas on, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for finding the show if it's your first time. Thanks for coming back if it's not. Please, I say it on every show, help us grow our community. Get out there on the Facebook group, Generations of Wealth Facebook group. Like this, share this, spread the word to your social media. Let everybody know about the show, and follow us if you need anything. You can always go to thegenerationsofwealth.com. There's resources tab there. There's ways to contact us. And now the one, the only, Kandas Broome. Welcome to the show. You and I have a pretty fun history, and I'm gonna let you describe yourself to my audience, because if I do it, yeah, I'll fill in gaps. But thank you so much for being here, Kandas. And
where's Tracy? Where is Tracy? Is she like hiding somewhere? I need some backup.
Tracy is unavailable. And for those that are not familiar with the show, that would be upper management, otherwise known as my wife. But no, her and Kandas like to gang up on me, so I can't allow them to be together on this show ever. But Kandas, why don't you tell everybody about yourself, where you're from, and this is gonna be a fun show.
All right. Well, Kandas Broome. I was born in North Carolina. Still live in North Carolina. I go back and forth between North and South Carolina with which one I want to stay in and which one I've lived in. But Carolina girl through and through. I've been an integrator with somebody else in the education industry for a long time. We've had the education space, and we've had the real estate space, investing in a holding entity as well. He also does some hard money lending. So I've got multitude of skills across everything: back office, front office, running events, leading, managing, encouraging employees, that type thing. What I love to do, though, is really enforce change. When he's got his vision clear and we need a new direction, or we're going to plow forward with a direction, is making those things happen and kicking obstacles out of the way, and serving the employees to better serve what the ultimate mission is.
There's a lot of stuff that I want to dive into with you specifically, but the vision piece is probably paramount, because at the Generations of Wealth podcast, our mantra is live your vision, love your life. And
I love that.
What I love to brag about, not usually to your face, but you are incredible at helping people figure out how to extract their vision. In fact, you sat with me for hours and just hit me with all these questions. It almost felt like an interrogation, but not in a bad way, because you're able to pull things out of people and out of myself. And you did the same thing for lots of our friends. You've done that for Tracy as well. So let's start with that. So
Okay.
many people don't really even know what a vision is. Many people are like, "Oh, I have a business plan," or I have a vision board of, pictures on my wall or whatever. How do you describe vision?
So it's ultimately direction. It's what you're going after, but more importantly, why you're going after it. Like, it's not when I do vision extractions, when I work with people on their vision, I don't focus on, or I'm not hypersensitive to the dollar amounts that they throw out. It's more about the life that they want to have, and that dollar amount is going to allow them, right? Or things that they will then be able to do. I look at it as there's a level of comfort freedom that people are chasing, or that they're going after. And if we can define what that comfort freedom is, then we can take steps on what needs to happen to get them there. Ultimately, for me, the vision is just the overall direction with purpose as to why you're doing it.
So when you're working with somebody and they start answering your questions, and then you can tell they're filtering because they're saying, "Well, I'd like to only work 20 hours a week, but how could I afford that?" That's common, right? And many of us, and I'll admit I was this way, still am a little bit to this day, as you and I will not discuss on this podcast. I don't always update my vision or get responses back to you when I should, but
Historically, no.
and I can edit this out if you say something I don't like, but
Where's the fun in that?
we don't edit this show. Most people know that. But I think that's a challenge for many people, especially engineer brained people, analytical people, right? They have a hard time dreaming
Yeah.
and figuring out their vision. How do you work with somebody like that?
Yeah.
Other than a baseball bat, like you did with me.
With the low punches, going for those gut punches with you, kidney shots.
Hmm.
Um, Well, I try to help them identify when they're bringing up or when the engineer is popping forward, right? And I'll say things like, "No, we got to shut that down," or, "No, let's start that over again. I'm going to ask you again. Let me ask you a different way." So I'll stop when I see the engineer coming forward. I'll stop the conversation and call their attention to it. Typically, at the end of, or toward the end of the 3 hours that we spend together, they're doing it. A little trick that I learned was, if we can name the engineer, it sounds elementary, but if you can name the engineer, like, I don't know, John or Karen, or just some kind of name, when you hear it coming up, then it makes it easier for people to shut it down too, because it identifies it. So if you can name that part of the brain that's kind of feeding in when your Imagineer is trying to go, then it's easier to help shut them down that way.
So when somebody's doing this, trying to do this on their own, and they're sitting in their office or their home or at the beach, wherever they can get quiet time to actually start dreaming, they now need to name their engineer Kandas, which is what I'm going to do, because
No, I'm trying to
that'll.
get the Imagineer to live. But I would give you a piece of advice. Do not name your engineer Tracy, because that could start some conflicts as well.
Huh. There's so many different directions that I'm thinking right now.
It does help, because if you're trying to do it by yourself and you know that that's sneaking in, then you can just call it, like, "Stop, Linda, right now. I need to do this," right? And if it gets to the point, sometimes when people are doing it on their own, or when people are doing a revision of what I send them, I like for them to turn it to their own words. Sometimes I use words that maybe you wouldn't use with yourself, right? So ask for a revision. While you're working on that, if you feel the engineer creeping in, then just stop. If you get 10 minutes done, if you get 20 minutes or 30 minutes done, that's fine. But if you feel it start creeping in when it's Imagineer mode, then just stop, walk away, do something else, and then come back to it.
So when you're figuring this out, I think we need to be clear. You're figuring out a vision for your personal life, and then and only then talk about what's next. or talk about the phases, right?
Yeah. I think that a personal vision is where it all starts. As much as entrepreneurs want to keep church and state separate, right? It's not the way that the real world works. And your business does impact your personal life. Your personal life does impact your business. So getting your personal vision clear, setting some parameters around how you want to live your life, what comfort freedom looks like for you. If there's an escape number, right? Even before some people can start to think about or dream about what comfort freedom looks like for them, they've got an escape number that they've got to hit, right? Just to get away from the daily grind. So if we get parameters set in the personal vision of what you want life to look like, back it into the business vision to make sure that those parameters hold within the business that you're creating so that business supports life, right? Just like Generations of Wealth magnifies, then we can make sure that you're not just living life to support the business, that it's actually functioning the way that it's designed and the way that it's supposed to. There's a third component in there, though, how you want your life within the business to work, right? So making sure that if you want to start every day at 10 o'clock, leave every day at 3, then that's in there. That's regardless of the vehicle, regardless of the business definition or the business that you're operating, these parameters of how you want life within business to look need to be identified as well.
Okay, so then we start to transition into your other expertise, which is being an integrator. How important is it for you as an integrator? And I think let's probably define visionary versus integrator as well. But then let's talk about how important is it for you as an integrator to know what the vision is of the person you're the integrator for, or the company you're the integrator for.
I think it's absolutely crucial. If I don't know what we're driving for, and ultimately, I believe integrators across any industry within any company want to be part of something bigger than themselves. It's not their agenda that they're there to push, right? It's the ultimate vision. It's the why of why any of this exists or why we're pushing so hard for anything. And that's what the vision kind of details or outlines is when we are able to do this, it accomplishes this, this, and this for all of these other people. And they are allowed to be bigger than part of something bigger than themselves with that. Without that, there are goals that you can hit. There are things that you can do. There's a little bit of an impact that can be made, right? But it's more defined, and there's more attention and focus when the vision is actually clear and shared. For me and the visionaries and integrators that I coach, I really like for the full vision to be released to the integrator, not just the business vision, but the life vision as well, because the parameters of both the integrator can control. They can make sure that things are on the visionary's calendar for that time that they want with their family every day, right? The time that they need to get stuff handled for their personal life, doctor's appointments or whatever it is, sporting events for their kids, whatever that is, the integrator can make sure that space is held so both visions are working together for the same thing, for the benefit of the visionary.
What makes up a good visionary and a good integrator, and can somebody be both?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a crossover. Visionaries are ultimately defined as the big picture. They are here's where we're going. The integrator is the details of how we're going to get there. The integrators can see, not that visionaries can't see, they just oftentimes don't pay attention to as many of the details as what an integrator will. The integrator also more or less controls the bandwidth of the team, is generally somebody who knows what everybody else in the organization is doing. Sometimes visionaries aren't exactly clear. They may know, oh, well, this person is in customer service, but they may not know the rash list of things that customer service role is actually implementing. So being able to judge the bandwidth is something that an integrator is also kind of important for, making sure that everybody's working toward the same goal. Now, when it comes to a crossover, there are visionaries with integrator tendencies that have a little bit higher attention to detail, and they want to know a little bit more about the processes and procedures. But on the same hand, there's integrators who have visionary tendencies, And they like to help kind of control that big picture and look at all the multiple options and be involved in those conversations of, well, these are potential avenues that we could go into that would fulfill this part of your vision versus, staying on this track, which may only give you a little bit of satisfaction in that area.
Okay, so I'm definitely a visionary. I know that about myself. I'm not an integrator. I know that's a shocker to you.
And everybody listening.
Yes, the world just was shocked. Um, and a big challenge that most visionaries have, I would say, is we get caught up in shiny object syndrome, and we always want things. Not all of us, but a lot of us, especially if your predictive index says you're a maverick, which we probably should describe what or explain what predictive index is. But we want things done yesterday or sooner. Trying to find somebody that can handle that as an integrator, where do you even start? Where does my audience go to figure out, okay, how do I find somebody like Kandas?
You could start with your network. And I'm a firm believer in growing an integrator versus just hiring one on. There's growth between there's depth in the dynamic between the visionary and the integrator that needs to happen, needs to occur. You can get somebody, an integrator is typically really strong on details. They usually have a higher sense of urgency. They're able to move on things and make things happen quickly. Most of the time, integrators are more results oriented than people oriented. They can be close with their people or extroversion level versus their independence level. But most of the time, they're going to be more task driven, results driven than people oriented. So they ultimately the goal is to get to the finish line, and sometimes at the detriment of how everybody feels about it. They're driving for the goal, right? If you find an integrator that has a higher sense of extroversion and a high sense of drive for independence, then they can usually cross those back and forth and get more flies with honey than somebody who is just extremely focused on the result versus the people aspect of it. When you mentioned Maverick and predictive index, Mavericks are super independent, right? Super low on the details. So those are super far apart. They want no kind of time constraints or schedule restraints or anything like that. They don't like their days being planned out. Integrators come into the picture and they kind of make sense of that chaos, right? They put things in an order. They get parameters around things. They get boundaries around things. They don't put constraints on, but they at least get a buffer zone of how things need to move, kind of like those bumpers on bowling alleys, right? Like you can hit them, you're not going to go into the gutter, but it kind of keeps you in the lane, but you got space that you can kind of go out of center.
From now on, Kandas is not only going to be my engineer when I'm working on my vision, she's also going to be considered the bumpers on the bowling alley.
The bumper guard.
I love that. You are giving me so much I can use in the future.
It's fantastic. I knew this was a mistake.
Awesome. And this is around forever. This is
Yeah.
an evergreen show. We can always go back to it. Last year, you came on the Generations of Wealth Voyage, and you as a speaker, and you were also there with the person you're the integrator for, which was fun because we brought him up on stage and we were able to, as a group, question both of you, how does that relationship work? And it's been interesting to see. And by the time that this show airs, we'll know for sure, but there's a strong chance that you'll be speaking again on the 2025 Generations of Wealth Voyage, which I think everybody needs to get to just to come and see the bowling alley bumper girl, Kandas Broome. So
I can't wait for the memes that you create about this and the graphics that get created for the 2025 Generations of Wealth Cruise. This is going to be funny.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's only one thing and that could mess up that schedule of me being able to attend, but hopefully it won't and we'll be there.
So everybody should go check out gowvoyage.com and you'll be able to see updates as they get put on our website as far as speakers and everything else, but get over there and get signed up for that cruise. Now, the last thing that I do want to talk about is how does vision and you sharing your vision with your peers specific to masterminds, right? Like you and I both belong to, we're not in the same mastermind group, but we both belong to the same organization of a mastermind. You've also done some leadership of your own integrators group with that organization. And I, of course, host the Circle of Trust Mastermind. How important is it to know, if you're a member of a mastermind, what everyone else's vision is?
Well, so a mastermind is ultimately accountability, right? It's having a peer group that's going to hold you accountable. So I think it's extremely important that you share your vision or your vision outline with the group, with the people that can encourage you, that can call you on your right, and that can celebrate with you when you actually hit the milestones of it. So a couple different facets, but being able to share that, they can also look at it and let you know if they've experienced one part of it before, how they got through it, the pitfalls that they either avoided or fell into, or at least noticed, right? So it can shorten your curve to what you ultimately want to get to that final vision. So I think that having those people around you, the peer group, the circle of trust, Generations of Wealth is also just the lead in, right, for Circle of Trust, and that's an amazing group as well. I haven't been able to have the privilege of joining into the Circle of Trust just yet, but I know Generations of Wealth holds that accountability for people. I can only imagine the level of depth and personality that comes through within the Circle of Trust when it comes to sharing your vision and everybody wanting to celebrate with you and hold you to it. And
Yeah,
ultimately just kind of make you believe that you're worth it.
yeah, and you spent a lot of time when we were on the cruise together with a lot of members from the Circle of Trust, and it's very similar to the members that are part of Leadership Boardroom, where we, spend time together. It's having that family atmosphere, but also having the family love to call each other out on their, like you said, and that's important. That's not all that common to find in this day and
Yeah.
age.
It's not common to find a group of people that maybe could be so diverse, but so united in the mindset of, yeah, like we can get this done. I can help you along the way. You can help me along the way. It's definitely not common to find that level of friendship that almost really goes to family, chosen family, right?
Right. Yeah, and just for the record, Candace chooses me to be part of her family. You heard it here. Everybody is a witness.
Is it the crazy uncle that you are, or
Yeah,
brother that
I'm the black sheep of the family. There's no doubt about that.
the brother that calls me from jail and,
That
various
only
places around the US?
that only happened one time, and we weren't going to discuss that on this show. It's not true. It's not true. We'll have to fact check that.
Yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure I have pictures of public disturbance of you on a light pole.
that
Mm,
was not public disturbance. That was public entertainment.
okay.
Yeah. Nobody was disturbed by that.
Yeah, there were a lot of people disturbed by that.
Yeah. Oh, there's other stuff out in the public that is more disturbing than that. So, well, kind of winding this up, I know the importance, and I know how long it took me, and it's a continuous battle. And I use the word battle lovingly, because you don't just figure out your vision and figure this stuff out and then it's done. It's evolving, should be evolving.
Yeah,
And
it breeds. It
it
definitely breeds. And as you do better, or as you know better, you can do better. And as you grow, it needs to grow with you. As you accomplish certain aspects of it, you've got to strive for something else. It may then, once you start to see the little milestones start to happen within your vision, even if it's just being able to recategorize stuff to give you more time in your day, right? As soon as you start to live more and more aspects of it, the more you want to live. of it. So it's got to be living, it's got to be breathing and moving with you.
And I think it's very important for you to celebrate the milestones and celebrate the wins, because they'll just show up. I mean, I'll tell you for myself, when I first got introduced to figuring out vision 6+ years ago, having a podcast wasn't anywhere remotely in my vision. Hosting a conference like the Generations of Wealth Voyage wasn't in my vision. None of these things were, but as opportunities started to present themselves and as we wrote things down, it's miraculous how what really was always there, you start to see it.
Yeah.
And the opportunities, they just start to show up. It's really cool.
There's an awareness around it when you know the direction that you're wanting to go, and there's an awareness around what you ultimately want. It's easier for you to say yes to things that'll get you there and no to things that won't. And being able to use your vision kind of as a filter to help with those shiny object things that you were talking about earlier is really beneficial, because you're ultimately either moving toward your vision or you're moving away from it. And once you have it, I don't know anybody that wants to move away from it.
No. The only downside, and I say this in a way that I don't want to scare anybody away from figuring out their vision, but I have seen it happen now several times where people figure out their vision and they also figure out that their spouse or business partner isn't part of their vision. That can be really scary, but also really good in the end, and it's something that sometimes you stay with the same person or same business partner or same business model, or fill in the blank, right? It doesn't have to be a person. It can be what you're actually doing in your personal life or your business for way too long. And I'm guilty of that. I did that in the past when I had a job. I should have left much sooner than I did. Hindsight is always 20/20, they say.
They say.
Unless you're drinking whiskey. But but I think that's important too, right? Like it's there is some pain that can come from figuring out your vision. The goal is that short-term pain leads to long-term happiness and gains.
Right. That ultimately, whatever the short-term pain, it will lead to long-term gains. And there have been situations like that. And thinking about those aspects, sometimes when you're looking at aspects of your vision that are starting to be pain points, you could look at where some of your significance is tied, where some of your, where your top human needs, we talk about 6 human needs, and I'm sure you guys do too, within the circle of trust. And I know you do with Generations of Wealth, but like how those are tied to your vision. I know, as an example, my visionary's vision before 2018, a lot of his significance was tied to the education industry. So we had to realign that. And sometimes that makes it easier or not easier, but it shortens the pain or shortens the depth of the pain when you can realign where your vision is meeting your 6 human needs and put that into something else. We realigned his significance with working with the homeless, and it made it easier to do what we needed to do on the education entity side, right? So sometimes that plays into figuring out, and it ultimately just more and more self-awareness. The more self-aware you are about, the more self-aware you are with how you operate, what things drive you, all of those things will definitely, I believe, shorten the depth of the pain and also shorten the time span of it so that you can move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, well said. It's almost like I gave you the script to read. Good job.
Let me tell you, there's nothing on this paper from you. I'm just kidding.
So a little look behind the scenes when we get ready to have a show, we typically have conversations or some talking points. And Kandas reached out to me and said, "What do you want me to talk about?" And I said, "Don't worry about it. I've got plenty." So
Visionary, which is why me, the integrator, didn't sleep last night trying to think of all of these like pageant moment questions I could have been asked on this podcast to make sure that I had an answer for you.
Okay, so here you go. I asked almost every guest this one question. So this will help you since you had a sleepless night. What is one question I should have asked you that I did not?
One question you should have asked me that you didn't.
It doesn't have to be related to the topic at all. It can be about anything.
I'm not sure. As I'm looking like down at my desk though, I think that it's kind of funny to be an integrator, the level of chaos that's happening on my desk. It looks more like a Maverick's desk or a captain's desk than it does more of an integrator desk.
I'm glad we're rubbing off on you.
That's not okay. It's supposed to be the other way around. But I guess it takes both to make this world flourish, right? We take I think sometimes integrators take for granted the fact of how vast the imagination is of a visionary, right? And I know it's the reverse as well. The details that go into making things actually happen is sometimes overlooked for an integrator from a visionary, but yeah, it definitely takes two to make things happen. Without the ideas and without the push, none of it would come to fruition. So I don't know of one thing that you could have asked me and you didn't. But
Well,
now I've got to clean my desk. So congratulations.
I'm so glad to disturb your day, and I guess we're just gonna have to wait until the Generations of Wealth Voyage 2025 to get that answer. We're just gonna leave it all on a cliffhanger, and Kandas is gonna come to the event, and she's gonna be like, "I finally thought of the one question that he should have asked me that I didn't all those months ago."
I'll
So
probably text you though in the next week and be like, you know what you could have asked me?
if it takes a week, I'll be shocked. I'm pretty sure it'll be within 24 hours. But well, I am so glad that I got to pick your brain and pick on you all at the same time. And I know how much value you bring to my world and, of course, the Generations of Wealth audience. So thank you very, very much for having a sleepless night and bringing your all today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we'll wrap this up. Listen, anybody that just found us, thanks for being here. Those of you that are coming back time and time again, we really appreciate you. Please get out there and share this, like this, spread this around your social media. Help us grow the Generations of Wealth show and our audience and our family. So until the next time, go out, live your vision, love your life.
Are you ready to elevate your real estate investing game and enjoy an unforgettable vacation with your family? Join us for the Generations of Wealth Voyage this February 2025 aboard the Royal Caribbean Symphony of the Seas, a unique no-sales cruise event designed just for experienced real estate investors and their families. Dive into expert-led sessions, exclusive networking opportunities, and enjoy family-friendly activities, all while sailing the Caribbean. Plus, kids ages 10 to 17 attend the conference for free. Register now to lock in our exclusive room rates and save 20% on your conference fee. Hurry, our room block ends October 3rd. Ready for a family adventure that builds your future? Reserve your spot today.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful episode of Generations of Wealth. May your newfound knowledge help you in leveling up your own strategies to get through the many obstacles to your money-making processes and bring you much closer to the financially secure life you truly deserve. Continue filling up your accounts and further polish your financial tactics by listening to more episodes of the podcast at thegenerationsofwealth.com. Because in your wealth-building journey, there is no other way to go but up, giving you the chance to finally live your vision, love your life. That's all for now. See you on the next one.